Hello, Collateral Gaming listeners. Chazzle Dazzle here from the Trial by Error Variety Show podcast. I just wanted to take a few seconds to invite you guys over to what we do. No, it's not video games, but we do invite really awesome and unique bands from all over the world. We dig deep into their souls and find really cool stories to tell you, and there's tons of music every week, so subscribe to us wherever you subscribe to your podcast. We look forward to having you.
I'm Ashley Chancellor.
And I'm Megan Gomez.
This is Collateral Gaming.
Welcome back, friends, to another episode of Collateral Gaming Podcast, the only gaming podcast that matters. We are broadcasting somewhere out of South Central Texas, and we review everything from the good to the bad and everything in between. This is a 420 friendly podcast, and we hope that you guys enjoy this upcoming episode.
Hell yeah, guys. We're back on our bullshit again.
Oh my god, we're back again.
This is 420 month, so it's actually been a hell of a time. We did GoldenEye, just got out this morning as of the time of recording this. Hopefully gonna get this out either today or tomorrow. But we are talking about Anthem. Of course, before we get into that, I suppose we should do our news segment.
Time for the news, boy. So who's going first? I got some juicy stuff going.
Go ahead.
So friends that like Rocket League, there's going to be a battle royale mode. Don't know exactly how that's going to work. Maybe like damages in Grand Theft Auto or something like that, and you get so much damage you're knocked out. Don't really know how that's going to work, but that is in development. The Steam Deck has continued to be upgraded, but there is still no price. Still not really a release date from what I understand. It's just kind of up in the air. Don't really know what's going on there. I also got some news on Elder Scrolls. The devs said that it's going to keep people playing for 10 years, which Skyrim's been out for a long time. People still playing it. So I'm very interested to see next-gen consoles with my favorite freaking people and another Elder Scrolls. I can't wait to dive back into that universe in a new game. Not just me playing a sneak archer for the 50,000th time. Let me clear my throat for this one. We're getting a Kingdom Hearts 4, boy.
Yeah.
I'm so freaking excited. I
Yeah,
love
that
Kingdom
looks
Hearts. That's a good
insane.
series. And it's Disney, so I mean, come on now.
Yeah, so now are we going to get the Encanto characters, or?
We don't talk about Bruno. Attack hit. They just sing and dance and blow like bubbles or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
Also, is it, I'm going to ask this now because I've heard it said both ways. Is it Ubisoft or Ubisoft?
Always said Ubisoft, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's actually like
I've heard Ubisoft and I've heard Ubisoft, so I'm just going to say Ubisoft so I don't get myself wrong. There's going to be a new Rainbow Six. As much as I love Splooge, it's time for it to go. I'm excited for that. I haven't played in a very, very long time because the community got pretty toxic, but that's exciting. And speaking of toxic, we've got the Toxica Novia here. We've got a new COD game coming out, and oh boy, my husband got a new Xbox yesterday, and it took him 3 hours to understand why he could not play Warzone, because he had to download 3 separate games and then download Warzone to be able to play Warzone, even though he's already downloaded the games that have Warzone capability. So that was a thing. So I'm excited to see how much more they're going to fuck this up.
Didn't new Modern Warfare 2 get announced?
I don't know exactly what it is. I just saw, y'all know that I always watch upcoming games. That's what they said, just new COD coming out Q4. So
I saw something about a new Modern Warfare 2, and not to be confused with the Modern Warfare 2 remake they just did, but or remaster.
Can they come up with a new fucking name? They put like 4 names and they have to like, this one, yes, Modern Warfare 4, perfect.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. The remaster that they just did.
Yeah.
That's what's different about what's coming out, is that it's going to be a remake, or so I heard. I just saw that maybe
okay.
today or yesterday.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. I would honestly like to see, I know I don't really talk about COD a lot, but I would love to see a sequel or a prequel or something along those lines to Advanced Warfare. That one personally for me had the best storyline, so that would be super fucking cool. Because I mean, the exosuits, the way they just charge out of that building, the end scene, that was a really, really good COD game for me personally. I didn't even really play the multiplayer mode. I just kept playing the story. It was actually a good COD story. It was something I was heavily invested in.
I haven't played a lot of COD, but actually, I think what I heard is that when they say Modern Warfare 2, it's not even a remake of Modern Warfare 2. It's a sequel to the Modern Warfare 1 remake.
Oh, God.
So it could actually
Fuck.
be something completely different, and maybe they won't actually call it Modern Warfare 2, because that would be really confusing.
Yeah,
Considering
it's
just
already confusing.
3 years ago they did a remaster.
Yeah, oh God, my brain already hurts. Like Black Ops 4, you continued all the way from Black Ops 1, Modern Warfare, you got Ghost. Like, can we get a new name?
Well,
Can
and
we get like COD Delta or
well,
COD Alpha?
we did get Call of Duty World War II, so
Yeah,
that
that's
was
true.
a new
That's true.
sub IP.
Yeah. I mean, something along that genre would be nice. Even if they did World War One, I know a lot of history fans really, really love the series doing something different and doing the World War Two. I personally really loved it because, my grandfather was, a glider pilot during World War Two. So that was something really cool to see integrated into a game. And I love that. It's like Sniper Elite, which, by the way, we're getting a 5th game of that.
Nice.
I can't wait to crack some freaking heads, man. I love that game. You literally just walk around and you're a sniper and you kill people. Fucking
Oh,
love that shit.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I would be into. I'm very much a sniper type, either sniper or shotgun. We'll talk about that on this episode. I also heard about with Call of Duty that there's not gonna be a game release for 2023. Like they're gonna actually they're gonna have a 2020. They're gonna have a release this year, but they're actually gonna take a break for the first time in. Is it
10,
like fucking
15 years?
20 fucking years or some shit?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of substantial for Call of Duty franchise, but I mean, with everything coming out, I've heard with these allegations, I mean, it makes sense, restart, rebuild from the ground up, get your teams right, make sure that there's no discrimination, no SA, none of that, and then move forward from there because you can't have a workplace, building a game like that and have the women that are working or people that are trans or anything like that working and constantly fearing that they're going to be SA'd while they're working on a freaking video game.
Oh, fuck that. And we're going to have a lot to talk about this episode when it comes to troubled development and not treating your employees
Yeah.
well. But
y'all know I'm a sucker for EA and BioWare, but oh god.
I'm a sucker for certain EA IPs. I'm not a sucker for EA. I think there's a couple IPs that have been allowed to develop under EA because we had good developers, but I think the fact that they were published by EA had nothing to do with it. In fact, I think a game is good in spite of it being published by EA. That's my attitude.
That's true. That's true. We all know this with my bays that are the Asari and all of them people.
And they got their hands dirty in the game that we're going to talk about today as well. So
God, so dirty. I feel like a redneck sitting in the mud talking about this game. God.
Yeah. But any other news?
None that I'm aware of. I know you said you had some exciting news to share before we started recording. So whatever you got, my guy, let's go.
Exciting, maybe. I mean, we'll see how it pans out. But apparently, PlayStation Sony announced their new PlayStation Plus tiers. They're doing away with PS Now. It's being integrated into the PlayStation Plus service, which we're getting at 3 tiers. Tier 1 is going to be called PlayStation Plus Essentials. It's basically what PlayStation Plus is right now, and you're going to pay the same rate for it. So if you're playing PlayStation Plus but not PlayStation Now, that's the equivalent of that. And
so like Live, Xbox Live, like just like the gold.
Right, and that's what PlayStation Plus has been, and that's what the first tier of it is going to be. Now, I do believe though. Let me bring it back up, so that way I can have the full information here. Yeah, that's it. So you'll get the discounts on games. You'll get the 2 monthly downloadable games that come free with PlayStation Plus, online multiplayer, cloud storage, all that good stuff. You're not losing anything if you decide not to pay more. But if you do decide to upgrade to Extra, that's where you get access to all of their PS5 and PS4 games, not streaming but downloading.
Okay.
And it actually includes not a whole lot of the major exclusive games. Like nothing new and exclusive is going to be
So
on
like
there.
Horizon.
But you are going to get games like God of War, Death Stranding, both of the
Ooh.
Spider-Man games, Mortal
Okay.
Kombat 11, Returnal, and they're going to add more first-person, third-party games. It's a library of around 400 games to start off with.
Okay. Okay.
Just none of the big boys, none of the new big boys, I should say. I mean, you have God of War, which started out as an exclusive, but it's no longer, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
That's going to cost $15 a month as opposed to the $10 a month you'd spend on Essential. And if you decide to do it annually, it's $100.
That's not bad.
There's a
I usually
3-month
pay
plan.
mine annually, so.
Yeah, all three of these plans, by the way, have monthly, 3-month, and year.
That's interesting that they
Subscription
didn't integrate
plans.
a biannual, because a lot of companies do that.
And not PlayStation. But
PlayStation's like, fuck your noise.
Sony's not doing that. But they are offering the 3-month subscription if you don't want to do the year, but you don't want to pay per month. And then also finally we have the premium tier. Honestly, in my opinion, they could have just combined the extras and the premium and come up with a price in between those. The 3 tiers feels a little excessive, but I think the reason why they're pushing this is they want you to get the extra.
Yeah.
But they offer the premium for people that want those. But if you want to know what you're going to get with the premium, this is where, on top of everything that you get with Extra and Essential, you're also going to get access to classic games from the PS3, PS1, PS2 eras, even some PSP games that are available to stream or download.
Ooh. Okay.
Well, the PS3 games, I think, are the ones that they can only stream. But everything else you can stream or download.
Well, I mean, that's already a thing, because with PS Now, if you don't have like the CD version or disc version, I don't know why I said CD. God, I'm throwing myself back and showing my age.
No, you can download some stuff on PS Now right now.
Yeah.
But I think even now that doesn't include PS3 games. So I think PlayStation is kind of being. A lot of people are saying that they have the hardware to do it, and they could put in the development and put in the money so that you'd be able to download or even just put in a disc of a PS3 game, but they're just not wanting to do it.
Yeah, see, well, so for the PS Now, if I remember correctly, it is streaming, because you do have to be online to do it, because that's how I played Beyond Two Souls the last time. And that's the one thing I'm not really understanding about PlayStation, because when PS3 came out, there were 3,500 units that were backwards compatible. People fucking fought over them. Everybody loved that. Everybody loved that they were able to have, this new technology that could play their old game. And they did it again on the PS4, but only for a few more units. Why do we keep having the same sequence? Why can we not have the backwards capability?
The
I understand
PS5 is at least backwards compatible with PS4 games, but it's like,
yeah,
that isn't really worth congratulating. It should have been. That never should have been taken away. But
exactly. That's a good marketing ploy. Like, Xbox is like, oh yeah, look at our streaming service. It's like, oh yeah, watch me download this PS2 disc and I'm still able to freaking play it. Like, that's a big, like, you could definitely have a lot of marketing strategy with that. Why keep investing in new consoles when you can buy one console and play them all?
Right. And so apparently the PS1 games and the PS2 games will be able to stream or download. The way PS Now works right now, I don't know exactly what the difference is. Some games it lets you stream or download. Some games it only lets you stream. It's not real clear on what is the difference, but from what it sounds like, the premium subscription means that everything within the PS1, PS2, and PSP games you'll be able to stream or download. Obviously, everything on PS4 you'll be able to stream or download, or PS5. So that's good. The only thing that is going to be stream only is going to be PS3. But
that makes sense, though.
At least you have the option of playing PS3 games, I guess. But that's something we already had on the PS4. And that's something that you're going to be able to maintain access to. And I think they'll be building up the library and making it better. And that's with the premium tier. So if you want, if you're like me and you're playing for PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now, then the premium tier is going to be the one that allows you to incorporate both. But I'll put a caveat on that. It's only really worth it if you're going to play the PS1, the PS2, the PS3 games. If you're just looking for the library of PS4 games that are on PS Now plus everything else they're adding, you're going to have the option to download those on the extra tier.
Okay, that makes sense.
So the extra tier is really going to be, I think, where most people are going to go. Even people that are paying for both services now, they're not that interested in streaming games. They're just interested in having an access to a library of games, which you still will. And downloading is obviously going to be the better option for most people, unless you have really good internet. And,
Yeah.
you know, but if you do want to stream specifically for some reason, or if you want access to those earlier generation games, that's where the premium tier comes in.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And if you're not interested in having access to the 400 or the other 340 PlayStation games, if you're just happy with what you have access to already, plus, what you can get a discount on or what comes free with the PlayStation Plus right now, then no reason to upgrade.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm probably just going to keep the same plan because I'm not playing that much of it,
I will probably get the extra tier. I don't know if I'm going to give Sony all the money for the premium tier unless something comes up like on the podcast that we need to do. That's a PS3, PS2, PS1 era game. In the absence of that, I think I probably will go ahead and get the extra tier because it's going to be useful if there's a game from the PS4 or PS5 era coming out that's not an exclusive that happens to be on that download or that's an older exclusive.
Yeah, that is one thing that I will say I do appreciate about Xbox. I haven't really been playing my Xbox a lot. I just played it today to play Anthem because that's what I originally downloaded on. We'll get more to that in a second. I really appreciate that there's a myriad of games that you can choose because, you're not always in the mood for a shooter game. You're not always in the mood for a first person game. You're able to have this big library at your disposal. And there's a lot of great popular games on there. I mean, you've got the Gears series, you've got Ark, you've got No Man's Sky. You've got a lot of good games that are on that series and on that platform. And it's so easy to just jump right into them. It's so easy to just do that. You can convert it over to PC, whatever you want to do. Like, for example, I know I've been talking about it. We want to build my husband a PC. So when we finally do, he can still play, COD or whatever he wants to do on a PC and he'll still have access to his Xbox thing. I mean, that's because Microsoft and Windows are very heavily embedded with each other, but that's another thing.
Yeah, I think Sony's taking a step in the right direction. Yes, what we're getting with these new tiers, we needed to have specifically, giving you access to an entire library of 400 PS5 and PS4 games. That's the big deal. That's what needed to happen in order for them to even try to compete with Game Pass. Game Pass is still better right now. I mean, it still seems like the sweeter deal to me. If you're not interested in exclusives or you don't care if you have to wait maybe a couple years to have access to those, then Microsoft seems to have the better strategy when it comes to their live subscription and their Game Pass subscription.
Well, they have had it for a while though. This has been a long time and they've got a lot of capabilities that you can have. So I mean, they've kind of held the hand in the market and they don't share.
And games like Halo Infinite are being launched as part of Game Pass at launch.
Yes, yeah. And unless PlayStation does something like that, it's going to be very difficult to sell it because a lot of people I've noticed, a lot of people that I've talked to over the years, especially recently with everything going on with not being able to get a PS5 and things like that, like me, they end up getting an Xbox and just, playing the games that they can play there and having dual consoles. It's just kind of one of the things. It's like, am I in the mood for a PlayStation game or can I play it on Xbox with my friends? Makes sense. It's one of those things that just happens because they've got the corner in the market. PlayStation's got to pull on some big boy boots and get ready to get into gear because Xbox has been doing this for a while. And Nintendo does a good job at, doing what they need to do for their stuff. But they're entirely different. I feel like, Xbox and Sony are always kind of at heads with each other. And it's like this big battle. And Nintendo's just in the background like, here's Animal Crossing. Do, 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 do. They just mind their business. And it's so cute. And I love that. Thank you, Nintendo, for being non-problematic. You're so cute.
Yeah, and PlayStation, if you want to compete with Game Pass, you want to offer a sweet deal that's going to really take you to the top of that market, and you're interested in that market share, then I would say do what Game Pass is doing and give access to some of your first-party titles, all the big ones. Make those a part of the subscription, even if they're the top-tier subscription.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
That would be a good way to sweeten the premium deal is, you want to pay $17.99 a month in addition to having access to all of the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation Portable games. In addition to that, go ahead and offer, put the brand new titles on your premium tier.
And add an incentive. If you end up purchasing the service, you can get a new armor. You can get you can get something else. That would be a cool idea too, because then it's like you're enticing people to use your service. While one of the people that we were talking about in this game has been doing that for a little bit. EA, I'm talking about you. They have their EA service with Xbox. So they can entice people by being like, hey, this is part of EA Play. You get to do specific things because you have EA Play. Cool. Dope. That's awesome. I'm definitely going to do this. If you add in more incentive, they're going to want to buy more.
Yeah, and the other thing they need to do is go ahead and emulate PS3 games. Just fucking do it. They have the capability to do it. I think they just need to actually have the incentive to do it. And I'm saying you would make a lot of your users happy, but maybe Sony's banking in the fact that they know that their customer base are people that are just loyal to the franchises that happen to be exclusive. And I don't know, we'll see how it pans out. We'll see what happens. Obviously, I think they can adjust if they need to. But I guess that's about it. That'll conclude our news segment. We go ahead and start talking about Anthem. So this was the latest IP from BioWare. Now it has been completely abandoned 3 years later. In fact, it has not received any updates, I think, since the year it came out.
It received a few patches and it did receive one update, but it ain't much. You're grasping at straws, BioWare. I'm disappointed. And while we're on the subject of that, I chose this as a bad game because I wanted to highlight what happens when you rush a developer into doing something and show that not every game is per se a bad game, but a disappointment. And you're going to hear that word a lot in this podcast episode because that's exactly what this game is. So this game was developed by BioWare, published by EA, and if you know anything about those two together, that's your bread and butter, baby. That's going to be your Mass Effect, that's going to be your Dragon Age, that's going to be some good, intense storylines that just drag you in, make you emotional, and make you want to keep playing. That in mind, fans of Dragon Age and Mass Effect saw this ethereal, gorgeous trailer in 2017 at E3 and thought, wow. And it was supposed to be compared to Destiny. It's like something that's a loot and shoot. You get to go around and go on missions with your buddies, but there's still a cool, aspect to it. Like what is Bastion? What is this tower that we're talking about? What is the Anthem? What is the final Anthem call? What is all of this stuff? And it was very, very heavily a disappointment. I'm coming from the perspective that I pre-ordered the Legion of Dawn edition. I was ready to freaking go. And Ash is coming of a perspective from being and playing in 2022. So it's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to have some more heartache and some emotions to talk about. But I'm interested to see your input, Ash, because I was so excited for this game. You have no idea. I was like, how you get into something like development of a movie or something and you're like watching all of the stuff about it and you're like excited for it. Like everybody's been with Elden Ring until its release. That's how I was with this game. So,
well, I don't think it's objectively a bad game, not in the sense that a lot of the other bad game reviews we've done, but it is a huge disappointment. And I can definitely see where, from a fan of the BioWare series, the only thing I want to ask is were you expecting Anthem to be just a looter shooter, just to be EA's looter shooter that happened to be developed by BioWare, or were you expecting BioWare to have, that narrative element to it?
I was expecting the narrative element for sure. Like a lot of people were comparing it, especially in development, and they were talking about how it was like a stepping stone. Like it's something compared to Destiny, but for something for the people that it doesn't quite catch on to. So like for me, example, I never really caught on to Destiny, so I really wanted this to be that kind of game for me, for my friends who like Destiny, so they could come play with me. So that was the perspective that I was going into. And I heard later in development that it was going to be more of a loot and shoot. I thought it was just going to be a story game. I didn't even know until I started playing the style that it was.
See that makes a lot of sense as to why you'd be so disappointed. Now, I actually listened to a couple podcasts of people that were excited, or videos and whatnot, of people that were excited for Anthem, actually knew what it was going to be. They were fully aware that it was a looter shooter, that the narrative elements that we know BioWare for was just not really going to be in there.
An afterthought.
And then that wasn't what they were going for, that this was going to be something very different. And it's okay. Developers sometimes do different things. It's just, it is kind of puzzling though, because EA wants to make a looter shooter. They want to make their own version of Destiny. Cool. Why have BioWare do that? Out of all developers, like I said, I know developers are free to do other shit.
Yeah.
But when they already have two very successful IPs that you're now pulling resources away from.
Exactly.
It just doesn't make a lot of sense. If I were EA, that's not the developer I would choose. Maybe give somebody else a new shot, or one of your more internal studios, more so than the subsidiaries that you've bought, or maybe you could find a subsidiary, some outside studio that you've now bought, owned by EA, but that are known for that. The other puzzling thing about Anthem's development was that they insisted on using the Frostbite engine developed by EA, an engine that was for first-person shooters.
Yeah. Well, you definitely see that element a lot when you're running around in Tarsus and things like that. And for me personally, it makes sense because you got to think EA and BioWare have been working together for years. I mean, Mass Effect 1 came out in what, 2006? So branching off, Guerrilla Games did Killzone and it didn't really do well. They made Horizon. It was amazing. It was a step in a different direction and it worked out for them. And they really played a gamble by doing this. And I just don't think they shook their dice hard enough, because you can bring an amazing story aspect and still do a looter shooter. Because from what I've understood, I like I said, Destiny is not really my style game, but you can integrate the two. I've heard that Destiny does have some really good storyline, albeit short,
I've
but
heard
it's still there.
Destiny 2 actually improves quite a bit on the story. And
Exactly.
so the story just feels non-existent here. I don't feel like, I don't even understand why I should care about what story is presented to me. There's all this lore and stuff you can pick up and all these characters that are introduced to you that I just don't care about.
And I don't feel the BioWare touch in this game. And that's so strange for me because, I was expecting, this protagonist that was, going to come in and help everybody. It's very much a BioWare thing to be the one person that saves the world, but I'm all here for it. I will continue to play their style of games like that because I love it.
And you go from having 4 dialogue options, all of which could at any point have some kind of major impact on the story, to 2 dialogue options that don't really have any much impact at all, and it's all in Fort Tarsus.
Exactly. It's all in Tarsus. There is, and that's the one thing that really bothers me because this game, the soundtrack was developed by freaking Sarah Schachner. And that's the one who did Assassin's Creed Origins. She did freaking Assassin's Creed Valhalla. She did, so many amazing games. She did The Lazarus Effect. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but the soundtrack is eerie. It's haunting.
The soundtrack is fine. The graphics are great. Hell, even just the moment-to-moment gameplay, fighting with enemies, being in the middle of a combat wave, is fun, although it doesn't last very long. But it's fun from moment to moment. And to give them credit for using an engine that wasn't designed for this, the third-person flying mechanics work pretty well. There's the controls get occasionally kind of, I don't want to say janky, but they occasionally
They're
just
a little glitchy. Yeah.
Don't jive as well as I'd like them to, but it's fine. I think Anthem is at its best when you're free playing.
Yeah. Well, no. The point that I was making there was, when you're running through Tarsus, there's no fucking music.
Oh.
Where's the fucking music? I don't care if it's fucking elevator lobby music. There's none.
Yeah,
and that is
you're right.
not normal. You're normally, you walk into different areas in Dragon Age or in Mass Effect, you're going to hear a certain moment. Or if you're far enough in the storyline, you're going to hear specific music when you enter an area. There's nothing. It's just people chattering in the background. It's like it was a forethought. And that's just kind of strange for me. Like, why am I going to run around talking to all these people in Tarsus and run in fucking silence? I understand that you're playing this game a lot with friends or, whatever. But even in Destiny, there's fucking what I call lobby music. There ain't nothing. I'm like, where the fuck is it? And the soundtrack, it is amazing. It's beautiful. The haunting, throaty voices and, just make it seem very, I don't want to say medieval. I don't really know the word that I'm looking for, but it's that era, but it's like electronic and there's other influences in there as well. And I will agree with you, Ash. I really like the combat style in this game. It's very unique. I mained a Storm. I capped at level 30 very quickly. And I really love that you can fly around, you can shoot elemental lobs, but you can also, shoot fucking guns. And it was a really cool concept. I really loved, like I said, I pre-ordered this game. I unfortunately could not get in, even though I pre-ordered it for the pre-order day or initial release date. The lobbies were so full I could never load in. So my buddies were already like level 10 and I'm sitting here loading in at level 0 like what the fuck am I doing? So my friends like guided me through the whole game. Shout out to Reg and Brandis. But it was initially very fun and I thought there was going to be more to it because Going through the grind, that happens with games. There's games that are like that, and they reward you heavily for it. And the loot can be kind of interesting, but I didn't really feel a delve into more. It just kind of felt, more of the loot and shoot instead of the BioWare aspect.
The
I
loot's
wanted,
not even good. It's all just the same shit.
yeah, yeah.
The gods vanished and left our world in chaos, creating, altering, destroying. The Anthem is all that remains.
There's a storm coming. These walls can't protect us forever.
Something is out there. It wants to destroy us all.
I mean, early on, whenever you're unlocking pieces of loot and you haven't unlocked something yet, but I've heard that
Yeah.
that doesn't change. You get later in the game, it's the same fucking loot. So it doesn't even really do well as a looter shooter. Oh my god, the fucking loading screens.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's gonna be really funny. I'm gonna throw in a couple loading screens in post production. I'm gonna do it just to fuck with people.
You should post one on Instagram and be like, Anthem is still loading.
Because holy shit, it kind of kills all the joy out of the game when you sit there and then you have to sit and wait for it to matchmake. Which
Yeah.
depending on the time of day, and surprisingly in 2022 this game is fairly active. You'll find 2 or 3 other players to join you on story missions, or I think strongholds and stuff. I haven't even tried any of that stuff yet, but you'll find people, but you have to sit and wait. And so just now before recording, I went ahead and set myself to private because I didn't want to have to sit and wait. Why couldn't they have achieved doing matchmaking while you're in the loading screen? Here's a good idea. Why can't you interact with your gear or your loadout during the loading?
Oh my god, that shit. And that's one thing that I did watch a review, and I do resonate heavily with that point. It makes experimentation not fun. Because in other games, it's like, okay, I'm going to choose this for my loadout. Holy shit, that doesn't work. We're going to try something different that's still in my inventory. You cannot do that with Anthem. You just pick up the loot and you keep fucking going. How is experimentation and refining your taste, how is that going to change, whenever you can't even touch your loadout? You can't change any of your aspects. I'm going towards this enemy. Like, for example, we've been talking about Horizon. We talked about that in the last 2 episodes. If I know I'm going to go fight, for example, a Thunderjaw, that I've scouted out the area and I see that it's going to have an acid weakness, I'm going to go load up all my weapons with acid and go fight it. You can't do that in this game. And there are enemies that are elemental specific, especially with me maining a storm. I need to know what elements to use to back up my teammates because I'm the sniper from the background if you're a storm. You're not a Colossus, you're not a ranger, you do not fight in the front. So that was something that was heavily disappointing for me, especially with my friends. My friends are like, try this gun, because they're rangers and Colossus, and it's entirely different for me as a storm. And that's, the way that the loadout plays, it's like you want to have one of everything, especially going into, the big story moments. You really want to have that strong presence of having one of everything so you can really defeat these big enemies. And while the enemies do get more fun towards the end of the game, especially end game, those Titans are really, really awesome. It just didn't feel very good at all. Like, the game can be fun and free play. You get to fly around, you get to fucking skid through water, you get to swim underwater, you get to fight some shit. But that's really the only redeeming quality of this game for me. Like, that would be the only reason I'd pick it up again, is if one of my friends was like, "Hey, you want to go and do a throwback and play some fucking Anthem?" I'd be like, "Yeah, sure, why not?"
Yeah. I mean, is it a fun game? Sure. I mean, I
Kinda.
got bored after a while, but you can get a mild amount of enjoyment here, maybe a couple of hours at a time. But would I recommend that you go and buy this? No. Hell
No.
no. It's
No.
just not worth it. It's like there's so little. And what's funny is this game feels so unfinished.
It does. It feels like they stopped the story halfway, honestly.
Well-
Even when you finish the game, it's like you can choose the dialogue option, like, for example, in the end of the game with the mechanic, and you can hash out the problem that you two have, and then he's still mad at you in the main dialogue going towards the end of the game. It's like, what the fuck are we doing? We were just cool 10 minutes ago.
This game was not met with very good reception because, one, it didn't feel finished or polished in any way, and two, it was missing a lot of content. Now, the lack of content would have been forgivable if they would have quickly jumped on adding more content, but it was unpolished at launch. But okay, let's say you had a troubled launch, your publisher forced deadlines on you, but this is a games as a service title. You can update it, you can patch it, you can give this game new life. And
Exactly.
so, all they had to do was start getting on that shit right away. Patch everything, make it a good, and then immediately start hopping on and adding more content. 4 character classes to start out with, 4 javelins to play with, doesn't seem like a lot. It would have been forgivable at launch if they would have quickly started adding more,
Or
but
even
now,
subclasses.
yeah, and you just don't have any of that. I mean, you have different weapon types, I suppose, and you can start adding more abilities and skills onto your javelin. You can kind of customize it, and supposedly any character class can sort of be tailored to the way that you want to play, but
It can.
I don't even feel really a lot of motivation to do that. I mean, I chose
Yeah.
Storm Javelin. I haven't even played enough to unlock an extra, and I'm curious to see how the other types play, but there's enough information within the menus for me to kind of get an idea of it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I just don't really I'm just not really motivated, and that's really sad. And the fact that, this game, I mean, all's well that ends well, and I think the fact that they're no longer pulling resources away from Mass Effect and Dragon Age, the fact that they abandoned this game is probably in the end the best thing that they could have done, and now BioWare can move on.
Well, they haven't quite yet. So the head of BioWare stepped down, and some of the other developers stepped down, and somebody at EA did too, which were the main guys that were working on this project. They still have about 30 team members working on this project. It honestly feels like it's too little too late. You guys, as soon as the game was released and the gamers gave input, you said something was going to come out in 6 months, and nothing did. And for a lot of people, that was heavily disappointing. Here we are 3 years on, and nothing feels like it's happened.
Well,
There's nothing.
We were supposed to get a major overhaul of the game as well, Anthem 2.0 or something to that effect, or I think I even heard it called by another name, and that just never happened.
Maybe the Heart of Rage, because that's kind of like the end thing there.
Yeah, and according to Wikipedia, it says all future development was ceased in February 2021. So if there's a team of people working on here, then all they're doing is patching it if necessary and doing some things, but I don't think they have any more plans or anything new that they're going to be. The game that you play now in 2022 is the exact same game that it was at the end of 2019 or maybe early 2020.
Yeah, looks like BioWare did release something on their blog. In the spirit of transparency and closure, we decided that we have made the difficult decision to stop our new development work on Anthem, aka Anthem Next. Okay. We
With the
will,
next,
however,
that's what I
continue
heard.
to keep the Anthem live service running as it exists today. Since its launch, the team has been working hard to continually improve the game, releasing multiple updates that brought with them a variety of improvements and introduced new content to play. Towards the end of 2019, we expanded on that effort and started working on a more fundamental restructure of the game. During the development, we've provided updates revealing some of the stuff, yada, yada, yada. 2020, they blamed it on COVID, of fucking course. This is disappointing for Anthem players. Game development is hard. To the community, thank you for your passion. And that's all that they said from Christian at BioWare, which I believe he's the CEO of BioWare.
So, and I've heard some really nasty behind the scenes shit. Like, apparently there have been some former developers that have come out anonymously because they're not allowed to talk about the game. They're not allowed to talk about what happened behind scenes. But they came out and they did make a public, how should I put it? They put to light a lot of the issues that occurred during development. I mean, evidently there were team members that ended up needing to take time off, several months of time off, just in order to deal with the stress that was going on with this game. There's a lot of people who
Jesus.
had left BioWare short term and then just never came back. And and of course even some of the lead developers that have been on since previous Mass Effect or Dragon Age games have now left the company. And so it apparently there was a public list of grievances and things that came out, albeit anonymously. And BioWare sort of just had this immediate response that was they crafted way too quickly to have actually listened to anything that just came across as very tone deaf. And, it just goes to show, this is exactly, like you said, I think this is good to talk about because this is what happens when you crunch your developers. This is what happens when publishers enforce deadlines on developers, and this is the shitty side of the industry. And
Yeah.
I respect a lot of what BioWare has produced as a company, but if all
Absolutely.
of this shit has been going on back doors, then fuck that.
Yeah, because I personally I love BioWare. They've done some amazing titles for me personally. They've done a lot to my life personally. There's a lot of BioWare content that I love, and they're so passionate about a lot of their fans and stuff. They really do try to listen to them. With BioWare being the major developer for Mass Effect, of course, there was a lot of things that they did put into input, and there was a developer that was on I believe a Twitch stream or something like that was talking to fans of Mass Effect about what they want in the Legendary Edition. And so it became so. That's amazing. That's something that you want to see from a developer. It's not just we're buying your product. It's we're investing our life and time into this product. We're
Right.
investing a lot of our, consciousness into thinking about this game and thinking about what we want to do. We want to see input back. Humans are creatures of contact and communication. So when someone big like that does something, it does say a lot. So to hear something like that, it is pretty thoroughly disappointing for me. And I really hope that BioWare has learned from this experience because it's very hard for me as a fan of them to hear something like that. And it's rough that there was deadlines from them because there was deadlines for Elden Ring. They were never pushed that hard. There was big changes that were needed to be made to Horizon. Having to become, PS4 capable just because, there was no way they were going to get enough PS5s out in time. No one ever questioned it. If you're a real true fan of it, you're going to wait. We could have waited another 2 years, with COVID and everything happening. If it started going on and things got halted during COVID, no one would have been upset. Elder Scrolls has been put back so many years because of all of this shit that's been going on in the world, and no one's ever been upset with them. We're still happy with the games that we play. Put out stuff for the games that we still play.
I mean, people have complained, but I know that by the time that we get a finished product, people are going to be satisfied and they're going to say, I'm glad that we waited for it. It was worth the wait. And that's something that, first of all, I mean, this is pre-Cyberpunk, right? This happened with Anthem, and Anthem still managed to kind of, EA and BioWare still managed to keep their shit together and, kind of, I guess they pulled out of the game early enough that they hadn't put enough resources into it, that it wasn't as disastrous of a failure as it could have been. But, it was just a growing symptom. I mean, we should have seen it back then with what happened with Anthem, and now look what happened with Cyberpunk. And hopefully these experiences are enough to show companies that you can't rush a product and you have to treat your employees well.
Unfortunately, I hate to say this, but I hope this scars the industry into understanding that these games like this is the reason why you can't push.
Well, and sometimes that's the only way to send a clear message is the game has to fail.
Yeah.
I think that was a grievance that I heard about the BioWare developers, is that they said that they were hoping that Dragon Age Inquisition was going to fail because of all the shit that was going on.
That's so sad.
Because that's the only way the message is going to get out.
Yeah.
By the way, this information is, I heard it on another podcast I was listening to, What's Good Games. They have a pretty good episode actually talking about a lot of the development shit that happened
Yeah.
during the Anthem development.
This makes me I know sounds so stupid, but it makes me think of Dance Mom when she was like, "You were good. I'm waiting for you to be great." This game really could have been something amazing. It could have been something that had changed the entire forefront of gaming as it is. I mean, just the combat style alone is so unique and interesting, but they just didn't have enough. It honestly feels like we have half of a game here. And I just, God, it really hurt me personally because like I not only pre-ordered this game, I hyped all my buddies up to play it, ordered the Legion of Dawn edition, and I specifically got this fucking game because BioWare said that they were going to have a special armor for N7. And that's fucked up to do because you know that fans were waiting for the Legendary Edition of Mass Effect. And after Andromeda, with all the issues that it had, which, by the way, has been completely fixed. Thank you, BioWare, for that, because Andromeda actually ended up being a beautiful game, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But to do that to fans of another series and have Easter eggs from Dragon Age in it and just not finish a game, like, that's really fucked of the people to just do that and, you know, be like, oh, well, it's got to get out, so you better fucking send it. It's like, you're disappointing your fans. You're disappointing people who could have been fans of the franchise. Like, damn, if Anthem is this good, why don't we play Mass Effect? There's going to be a Legendary Edition coming out in 2021. They had released the information by then.
And supposedly this was actually being co-developed by a separate team around the time that Mass Effect Andromeda was still during development. So they didn't even have time to learn from the mistakes that happened there. And so, you know, you're coming full force into this game that, you know, honestly, EA should have just taken a step back and said, you know, or BioWare, we need you to, you know, complete the product. We're going to give you more time. You know, at least another year of release would have probably done wonders. And the game may have not been a failure, but we didn't get that. Or at least another 6 months of development, something.
Yeah. I mean, I watched a guy who played the beta and he was like, okay, I think that this needs to happen. This needs to happen. You've told me these elements of the game. I need more. He told them that. And this guy came back and played in 2021. And he was like, the exact words, and I quote, were, "This feels like a child that I have to go back and check on every once in a while." And that's not how you want to feel about a game. You know, like, for example, God of War is coming out later, Q4 2022. I will definitely go back and play that game again, and you can continue to play after you finish the game, and it's so much fun. You know, like, in this one, it has an online aspect. You know, there could have been so much that was done in the meantime. You know, offer, you could have gone the direction of Battle Royale. You know, there's supposed to be a player versus player. You know, you could have done different online missions or, you know, something like that. Or, you know, like Easter egg hunts or something. You know, they could have done so much and they just didn't. They just gave up. And it makes sense now hearing what, you know, has happened during development and post-development. And that's thoroughly disappointing. For a fan of EA and BioWare being together and seeing what they've made, I really, really wish that they would have given more time to this game.
I agree. And it, you know, it sucks too because at first you hear, okay, BioWare's making a new game. It's nothing like what they've made before, but hey.
It's like, wow, yeah.
It's a looter shooter that you can fly around like Iron Man, and we have a studio that we know makes good stuff. Okay. I can get behind this. They hype everybody up. They say, no, Anthem's going to be good. You're going to like it. And then they release it, and it has a myriad of problems that they don't even try to fix, or they barely try, and then they give up. And that's really sad. I feel bad for anybody that had to drop $60 on this game at launch.
I dropped 80.
Doesn't feel like they got their money's worth out of it. I don't think anybody felt that way.
No. And I feel so bad for, you know, people like me who watched the E3 in 2017 and thought, wow, this is amazing. This is going to be something cool. Because, you know, as a gamer, you want to see cool, newest, interesting things from your developers. If you're a huge fan of a certain developer, like, you know, Dark Souls fans waited forever for Elden Ring, and look at the payoff that it's had. It's massive. And you know, we wanted something like that.
What sucks is that you did have a few defenders of this game. People who came out and said, hey, this game, I acknowledge it has a few problems, but I like it. It's fun. This is something I'm into. And even those people ended up having to give up hope. And once they realized that they weren't getting new content, nothing new was coming for this game. And so it was just kind of a lose situation for everybody. BioWare lost, EA lost, the players lost. Fans of BioWare's previous works lost, people that were coming in new or people that were fans of looter shooters. It's just that you have another game that was similar to this at the time, which was Destiny, and you might as well just play that.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Warzone, not Warzone, Warframe. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's a lot of elements that could have been done, and there was a lot of things that could have been done, and I'm actually disappointed to hear that they did stop development, because I think with just a little bit more time, love, and tenderness, this game could make a comeback and be really good. And I'm really, really sad that we didn't get to see what BioWare was capable of, with especially reintegrating an entire engine to make it your fucking own. That's amazing. And this doesn't go to discredit BioWare. This doesn't go to discredit EA. They're still amazing. They still have people who have the most creative and beautiful brains, but it's just, it's like a loss for the community, and it really fucking hurts. I've been in, quite a few EA and BioWare fan pages, and every once in a while we get on the topic of Anthem, and everyone's just, it's emotional. It's hard. It hurts, because we really wanted. And I remember 2019. It's coming up, gearing up to the game. Everybody's posting and Mass Effect shit posting, talking about this fucking game. Everybody was into it. The whole world was into this game. It was like the horizon of its time. Something different. Let's fucking go. Okay. And it didn't deliver.
And then to go back and say, you know what? No, we're going to go ahead and we're going to rework this. We're going to get a massive overhaul. We're going to, turn this game around and do something different and complete the vision that we thought we were going to do. Something that worked, for instance, with No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
And other games that were, not as well received at launch, but received updates. And that game, by the way, is apparently still continuing to get updates and will for years to come.
Yeah.
But, with Anthem, they were going to do a turnaround, and I think a lot of people would have given them a chance. I think anybody that had dropped money on this game at launch was going to continue to play, and maybe even put some more money into it to see, I've already invested something. If I have to invest a little bit more, I'd rather that than everything I put in go to waste. And they just dropped the ball. Maybe it didn't end up being the right move. I don't know. You can't really say. That's what sucks, is that there's a lot of missed potential here. We don't know if maybe they could have salvaged this.
Yeah. And that's one sad thing, is we'll never know.
Maybe handed off development to another developer. And have BioWare just continue focusing on Mass Effect and Dragon Age, and thankfully that's what they're doing now. We're gonna get a new Mass Effect game, and we got the Legendary Edition. So, like I said, all's well that ends well. But it's just, I feel bad for people that that purchased this, that were looking forward to this, and we're disappointed. It's a huge disappointment, I think, for the gaming community. And even as somebody who's coming into and playing this game for the first time in 2022, I just had a huge lack of interest.
Yeah.
There's not a lot.
There's not a lot there. The only thing that brought me back was the nostalgia of playing with my friends, and I only have one friend that's located in the UK that still plays it occasionally, and that's just because he really liked the element. He's like, I'm gonna go play some Iron Man Simulator, and that's like our code word for Anthem. And he's the only person that I know that plays it, and I know multiple gamers, and the only thing that I can say is just disappointment and sadness, and there is an element of grievance to the topic of this game, just because of how everything went. And BioWare, EA, I'm so sorry. I know that this is a rough thing for you guys, and I do hope y'all the best in your new endeavors, but I really wish y'all would have continued this game, because this game, it had the potential to be great.
It did. So I guess that sort of wraps up our final thoughts on this. I mean, anything else to add?
The only thing to add would be, I could see maybe EA and BioWare doing something similar. Maybe even doing like a prequel to the game, just to kind of pique interest in it, and maybe dropping a 2.0 or something, or being like, hey, that was a bad release. Let's see what else we can do. There's some potential for a franchise here, but they have to put in the effort and the time, and they really really have to redeem themselves, because right now, even with Mass Effect Legendary, because of the way that things went with Anthem, there was not a lot of hope. There was not. Just because of the way the Anthem went. Y'all are gonna have to, beg on your knees a little bit for us fans. And I'm waiting for it. I want to see what y'all are coming out with. I love EA and BioWare together. They've made some great stuff, but you can't hold on to the games of the past. You need to keep going. You need to step over the stepping stone and continue to be great, because that's what I'm expecting, and that's what all gamers and all fans of these series are expecting.
Right. Yeah. Like I said before, the game is fun enough, but it's just, it could be so much more, and I can't recommend it on any level. I can't recommend that you drop money on this. I
Nope.
can't even recommend that if you purchased this game before and didn't like it, you're not going to like it anymore now. It's the
Nope.
same fucking game. So
Yep.
I can't recommend this game on any level. And you know what I can recommend? GoldenEye. That's a good game. We just played it, and that game still holds up, and that was in 97, and it still has a whole lot more replayability or replay value than Anthem does.
There's a lot of games out there. I mean, shit. You could go back and play the original Mass Effect, buggy and all, with that fucking Mako, and still be happy.
Exactly.
I don't recommend this game at all. I'm sorry, guys. It's not worth it. It's not worth any bit of your time at all. And I hate to say that about these two, but it's not.
It's true. Yeah.
Sarah Schnauer, I'm sorry. Your soundtrack was really good. This was, I'm sure a really, really good, soundtrack for you to make, and I do listen to it while I study, but I'm sad that it did not go as well.
But, hey, BioWare tried to make a new IP, failed. We learn from our mistakes. Hopefully they're going to treat their developers with more care, and we get a better product as a result.
Mm-hmm. If first you don't succeed, try again.
Anyway, if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or feedback on your platform of choice. Next time, we are going to be talking about... Well, first, we actually have a crossover collaboration episode with Collateral Cinema coming out on Sonic the Hedgehog 2. So I hopefully want to record that very soon, by the end of this month. If you haven't checked out our 420 special on GoldenEye, I'm going to recommend that as well. Obviously not the first podcast to talk about that game, but I think we might have an enlightening perspective on GoldenEye as a 420 game. And next month we're going to be talking about Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, and then our season finale on Fire Emblem. And we're going to be kind of cutting the season there. We'll be picking back up in September. Already planning out what's going on, and Megan's gonna need to pick at least one game soon, because
I know.
I think your game is actually what's set currently as the premiere, the season premiere. You don't have a game. I'm just saying, like the way that this the schedule can be moved around. If Zach comes up with something first, he might get the season premiere spot. But I kind of already
today, fucker. I'm gonna find something.
Okay, because. Yeah, at least by our finale, I want to announce what's coming up next. And I kind of already...
Yeah, fair enough.
I have a good reason for the spots that my picks are in next season, so I don't really want to move those. So one of the two of you is getting the season premiere.
I'm going to get it. It's on, Zach. It's on like Donkey Kong. Let's go.
But yeah,
I might be moving, but I'm going to record in the car. I ain't give a fuck, Keisha.
Season 4 has been a lot of fun. This isn't even our only bad game review that we did this season. We also did Superman 64, and we'll kind of do a retroactive look at our season, I think, coming up on the season finale. But I'm excited to talk about what else is happening, and I'm excited to get into next season. On Collateral Cinema, all we have left is Sidekicks. That's going to be our season finale, and then we're moving on. So I'm really excited. I've already designed the new logos for both Collateral Gaming and Collateral Cinema, and we're gonna keep moving forward and doing what we do best.
We're gonna keep crocking and keep rocking.
I think we're at almost 8,000 downloads on Collateral Gaming. And
Hey, thanks, guys.
yeah, no, it's actually been great. But we hit over 10,000 on Collateral Cinema. So it's been awesome. I'm excited. And you can follow us on social media. We are on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Check out our Facebook group, Collateral Media Podcasts, as well.
I'm also on TikTok.
She's also on TikTok. Maybe we'll eventually have some Collateral Media TikTok accounts.
Oh, God.
As well as our Patreon. We are on
Yeah.
Patreon. We have $1, $5 tiers. Pay any amount of money and you get access to exclusive Let's Play video game commentaries.
Yeah, I might be moving soon, y'all, so that'll be perfect time for me to set up a space where I can officially record because I really tried to. I did. There's just no room in this tiny little apartment. I'm in 597 square feet, y'all. It is a tiny little baby box in here. There is no room. So when I get some more space, hopefully like 400 more square feet, you bet your sweet bippy I'm going to record some stuff for you guys.
But anyway, this has been another episode of Collateral Gaming. I've been Ashley Chancellor.
And I have been Megan Gomez.
We are out.
Peace.
Collateral Gaming is a Collateral Media podcast. All music and game clips are owned by their respective creators and are used for educational purposes only. Please don't sue us. We're poor.